I'm Jeff Tobe, Managing Partner of Customer Experience Systems, CES, where we lead organizations through a 3-year customer experience journey to make them the employer of choice and the vendor of choice in their niche. And the best part, we can prove that a CX customer experience focus will make you more money. Welcome to this, hopefully, company-changing webinar, and thanks for making the investment of your money, your time, and mostly your anticipated actions to ensure that the customer experience in your organization is one that ultimately makes you and your company the employer of choice and the vendor of choice in your niche. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Why is Starbucks so successful at selling you a $4 cup of coffee when McDonald's charges $2? Why does a stay at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel seem much different than a stay at the Holiday Inn? You know, most people today would answer that it's all about customer service, when in fact, they'd be wrong. Both McDonald's and Holiday Inn offer incredible customer service. What Starbucks and Ritz-Carlton understand that it's about the customer experience. Throughout this webinar, I'll use the word customer to make sure that no matter what you do for a living, you understand that we all have internal and external customers. I would hope that everyone in your organization can define external customer. I define internal customer as anybody without whom we can't do what we do every single day. This may be a paradigm shift for many of you. An example, my FedEx driver is an internal customer. If he doesn't show up on the days that I need him to pick up my parcels, I'm out of business. So he's a vital part of what I do every single day. So here's the problem on which I want to focus this webinar. Customer experience has become the new buzzword in the corporate world, and I'm not sure that most professional organizations really understand it. Service is what you offer your customers, internal and external, every day as a trained professional. It's personal and it comes from the heart. The nurse who truly cares about her patients, the trainer who customizes his training for every single client, the postal delivery person who takes time out of a busy schedule to help an elderly woman take down her Christmas decorations. You know, I'm often asked if customer service is dead. It's not dead. It's just not the differentiator it used to be in the marketplace. While your competitors are competing on service, why wouldn't you look to the next plateau? Experience. Customer experience is about considering our customers' experience from the minute they make contact with our organization until the minute they're done. This involves so many more people than just you. And those organizations who purposefully examine every customer touch point, those opportunities we have to influence the customer, from the parking lot attendant to our on-hold message to accounting to our website and so many more, are those who will excel at this customer experience. You know, by driving the message of the experience through every department, people realize that no matter their title or contribution, part-time or full-time, they're part of the customer experience and they start to become more engaged. By having everyone on your team or in the organization itself consider their specific customer touch points and how they can better that one little experience, they automatically become more engaged at what they do. And ultimately, the customer is the one who benefits. Here's the thing, the customer experience has to start with you, because you obviously care, or at least are curious about CX, or you wouldn't be here. Also, because of your influence and because you touch so many different people at so many levels of the organization, you have to step up to the plate as the leader you are. It starts with you talking to as many people as you can, walking around asking critical questions like, what is the, fill in the name of your organization here, experience? Then figure out how to shatter the stereotype of the experience customers expect to have with you, your department, or with your organization. Ask yourself, what small touch point could I focus on this week that will ultimately shatter that stereotype? Imagine going to a new restaurant that's been touted as the best in town. You arrive at 7:50 p.m. for an 8 o'clock p.m. reservation, and you're seated right on time. You go on to have the best service and possibly the best food you've ever eaten. And at one point, the chef comes out to your table and explains how each of your dishes was prepared. The manager checks on you a few times. It's perfect. After dinner, you proceed to go outside and you proffer your parking ticket to the car valet. And 55 minutes later, your car arrives. Isn't that part of the overall experience? Of course it is. But let's take this to the next step. It's now 3 months later, and you have told hundreds of people to go to that new restaurant because the food is amazing and the service is outstanding. And then you finish with one word. And the word isn't Uber or taxi. The word is but. But your car will take forever to get to you after dinner. So what's this got to do with your profession? Everything. The minute we get our people asking critical questions like what comes after the but is the minute we start to become 100% customer centric. They're the nicest people to work with, but they're always late on delivery. You should call my lawyer because she's great, but she charges a lot. They're amazing caregivers to my mom, but the place smells terrible. We need to examine every touch point and imagine what the customer might say. To start making the critical shift from service to experience, begin by examining those touch points and seeing the world through their eyes, not ours. But I get overly zealous about this stuff. Let's go back and start at the beginning. Let's talk about customer service. It just hasn't been discussed, dissected, and examined enough over the last few years. Hint of sarcasm there. In visiting my local bookstore, and yes, we still have one, I realized that there are more books written on customer service than any other business topic today. And the sad part is that I also realized that I've read most of them. Now, don't get me wrong. There's probably not a more important topic than the service we offer our clients, patients, or members. But I think things have changed. Those organizations that recognize the next wave in customer service will be the ones who ultimately serve their market better than any others. When you think of organizations the likes of Nordstrom, Zappos, and Starbucks, we automatically think that customer service is the one thing that separates them from the pack. That's not entirely true. Back in the 1980s, one of my first consulting clients was a Seattle-based department store by the name of Nordstrom. You've probably heard of them. On our first meeting, the leadership group with which I was working decided that they were going to offer knock your socks off customer service when their customer had a problem. So what happened? By the end of the 1980s, it didn't matter what profession we were in. We were all walking around sort of saying something to the effect of, we are going to solve our customers' problems beyond their expectations. Now, fast forward to the 1990s, when I got to work with a small car company by the name of Saturn. Yes, it's even smaller today. No testament to my work, okay? I had Saturn leadership study the Nordstrom model. They concluded that just solving their customer's problem was not good enough. They determined that they were going to offer knock your socks off customer service all the time, not just when their customer had a problem. They decided that they were going to be the customer service car company. The problem is that most organizations I encounter worldwide are still stuck in offering amazing customer service. To start to make a shift from service to experience, begin by examining those touch points and see the world through their eyes, not yours. As I travel the world speaking, training, and consulting with professionals in hundreds of different industries and spheres of influence, I've been surprised at the question, what is the difference between customer service and customer experience? Still stumps even the most savvy CEO. Customer service is what you should already be doing well. It comes from the heart. What can I do for you? How can I help you? If your customer service is outstanding, then this is just a given with your people. If it's not top notch, then you need to do something right now to make it right. Watching this webinar is a good first step, but perhaps you need to go back to basics and re-examine your customer service journey from the minute they make contact to the minute they're done. The unfortunate thing is that customer service is no longer a differentiating factor in the marketplace. I can almost guarantee that if I were to ask your competitors what sets them apart, they're going to tell me customer service. It's not your products or your services that set you apart, and it's certainly not your customer service. Customer service is the assistance a company provides to customers before, during, and after purchasing or using its products or services. Good customer service leaves customers satisfied and involves creating bonds with customers with the aim to develop them into long term relationships. A good customer experience means the company has provided great customer service and that the service offered has left the customer happy and satisfied with the service received. I don't know about you, but I'm no longer settling for a satisfied customer. That brings us to the question, what exactly is the difference between customer service and customer experience, CX? Customer experience, by my definition, is the ability to step back and ask ourselves that critical question. What is my customer's experience from the minute they make contact with us until the minute they're done? This involves so many more people than the one who is offering great service. It sounds easier than it is. We can look at the customer experience journey from the minute they sign on to our website until the minute they sign off. A financial planner might examine the journey from the minute the young 25-year-old client signs on to their services until their death 75 years later. And my plumber might consider the journey from the minute I call until my leaky faucet is fixed. You see, it's a personalized experience for your specific business or organization. Simply put, customer experience is the perception the customer has of your brand. It's how customers perceive their interactions with your company or brand. While you may think your customer experience and brand is the same thing, a customer may have a different perception, and that would be regarded as the customer experience. Customer experience is not restricted to how many interaction mediums you have, and it's also not to be confused with a once-off experience. It's the overall experience a customer has across platforms where they can engage with your company, measured across an entire purchase cycle. A company may focus on certain parts of the customer journey, but may fail to impress the customer on other aspects. That results in a customer experience that is weak due to ignoring an aspect of the customer's entire journey. For example, a customer may have a wonderful experience when purchasing a product, but have a negative experience when requiring assistance from customer service. That happens when you don't pay attention to all aspects of that customer journey I mentioned. There's a fine line between customer service and customer experience. Customer experience actually encompasses customer service. Customer service is limited to one aspect of the customer's journey. This is when the customer is experiencing some sort of issue with your product or service. When a business assists the customer with the help they require, it's good customer service. Customer experience, however, is far more extensive. It's understanding how your customer is feeling and what they're thinking every single time they interact with your business from the moment they're aware you exist. It involves every aspect of what a company has to offer, including how its customer care is rated, packaging, product and service features, reliability, ease of use, and so many more elements. Customer service is reactive, where customer experience is proactive. When you're reactive to your customers, you're not preventing disasters from occurring. You're simply fixing what needs to be fixed once it's taken place. When you're proactive with your customers, it's taking the time to analyze what issues may potentially arise and stopping them from taking place before they do. In my last book, Anticipate, Knowing What Customers Need Before They Do, I made it clear with customer experience, the business's objective is to provide customers with a better overall experience, which leads to happier customers by anticipating those issues that might arise. Customer experience is understanding how your customer is feeling and what they're thinking every single time they interact with your business from the moment, as I said, they're aware you exist. Customer experience is not a department. Every team in your organization, from marketing and sales to customer support, should be involved in the customer experience. It drives me crazy when an organization relies on the customer experience department. Customer experience is not reactive. As previously mentioned, you don't wait for the customer to raise an issue, to resolve their problem, or meet their requirements. To provide customers with a great CX, companies need to become intuitive, learn from previous or common issues, and get a better understanding of the customer's needs and expectations. Anticipate. With today's evolving customer expectations, your company may excel at providing satisfactory customer service. However, delivering great customer experience is not easy. Um, Another way to explain the differences is with an example of a customer journey where a new client opens a checking account online at your bank or through a chatbot assistant, but finishes the process in a branch or over the phone with the representative. If the representative is friendly and helpful, he or she delivers great customer service. The frictionless process of opening an account online or having a chatbot assistant to check their account balance and recent transactions helps create a great customer experience combined with the service that the representative offered. Positive customer experiences like this have grown from a nice to have to a necessity in every single industry, including yours. Each task completed and the time in which it's done can greatly impact the overall success of CX efforts. So, as if that wasn't enough to consider, let me now introduce you to a whole new concept, moving beyond customer experience. If customers find it easy to do business with you and experience consistent, and that's the key word, consistent, high quality experiences every time through every touch point, then you're moving from customer experience to customer excellence. That's the goal. It's very difficult to do it at every single touch point. So, why customer experience? I'm sure you've heard of the Gallup organization. Most likely you've heard their name associated with some kind of political poll. If you look at their website, they're actually a global analytics and advice firm that helps leaders and organizations solve their most pressing problems. Each year since 2013, Gallup has done an engagement survey worldwide, an employee engagement survey. In the US, it's called the State of the American Workforce. Now, in 2020, they found that only 33% of American workers are engaged at what they do in the workplace compared to 70% worldwide. It's pathetic. It means that 67% of Americans go to work to get their paycheck. Now, don't confuse employee satisfaction with employee engagement. They're happy to get their checks. They'll even tell you that they love working for the organization. They're just not engaged. See, I've given you the first and probably major reason to change your entire organization's mindset to that of customer experience. In working with hundreds of organizations over the years, I know that when companies make the leap from customer service and selling for a satisfied customer to customer experience, they incur both loyal external customers and engaged employees. We've also proven that the more engaged people are internally, the better the experience externally. So, why not focus internally and get your people more engaged at what they do? But there are other important reasons to consider CX. First of all, customer loyalty is more important now than ever before. You know, companies across the world have an average customer satisfaction rate of about 86%. Customer experience is key to exceeding your customers' expectations. Brands have to be accurate, dependable, and provide the service they promise. The opportunity lies in the ability to deliver what you promised and surprise, wow, and delight your customer with extra care and support. A loyal customer contributes 2.6 times as much revenue as a somewhat satisfied customer, and 14 times as much revenue as a somewhat dissatisfied customer. The main goal is to create a consistent customer experience across all touch points to exceed your customers' standards. By keeping an eye on the entire customer journey, you're making sure that the promise of a positive experience is kept and that you're offering a superior service. You know, customers today want highly personalized communications and timely messages from brands that truly get them. With 91% of consumers more likely to shop with brands who recognize, remember, and provide them with personalized experiences. Although loyalty programs may be dying, loyalty can still live on as a crucial piece of CX if brands focus on strengthening their customer relationships and offering them relevant, personalized content and delivering it at the right time to the channels that matter most to them. Another reason to consider CX is that new shoppers are more likely to turn into loyal customers. Creating a wow experience really impresses purchasers and ensures that they'll keep doing business with you in the future. A superior experience becomes a valued and kind of a unique asset for any type of business. Acquiring a new customer costs 7 times more than maintaining an existing one. You know this. Investing in your existing customers will pay off, and it's only a matter of time until you see positive results. And what if your customer is unhappy? There are a few things that impact a brand's reputation more than the way it responds to complaints. What you do about those complaints is known as service recovery. You may not have heard this before. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a formal written service recovery policy? Do all of your people know exactly what it is? Who are your best customers? I'll argue that they're your lost customers. No, the winter cold hasn't frozen my brain. I left out a key phrase. Who are your best customers to help you with business process and product improvement? Every business loses customers. It's a fact of business life. And the tendency may be, especially for the small business person, to shy away from communicating with customers who have walked away. Yet consider what a treasure chest of information those lost customers hold. There's a reason those customers aren't buying from you. The reason may be benign. I mean, for example, they've moved or their needs have changed. But the reasons may be due to shortcomings in the way you do business or in the product or service they were buying from you. Wouldn't you want to know? Perhaps a minor correction would regain the customer. Surprisingly, a lot of companies act as if they couldn't care less why customers are defecting. Fellow speaker and author Janelle Barlow wrote a wonderful book with co-author Klaus Moeller back in 2008 by the title, A Complaint is a Gift. What an amazing mindset. What if everyone in your organization actually welcomed complaints? It seems counterintuitive to want to hear more complaints, but we should. We can get more complaints by letting the customer now know how to voice them. Toll-free numbers, point of contact comment cards can work, but they're kind of passive. Active solicitation of comments can be best done by contacting customers directly. Surveys after a completed transaction or a scheduled meeting work best, depending upon the nature of your business. Today, it's important to have people who are dedicated to auditing comments about your company on social media. Responsiveness is a key to service recovery. If we wait too long, it becomes harder to resolve an issue. The key is to let the customer know that you want their feedback and that you'll act upon it. That's the key. If you don't provide service recovery and fix the underlying problem, the customer will be less likely to voice issues in the future. Also, remember to fix the problem and fix the customer. You know, having worked with many rural hospitals in the arena of patient experience, I always make sure they have a written and well-publicized internally service recovery policy. Every employee knows what they can do to solve a patient's complaint. I go so far as to have physical toolboxes placed in strategic locations throughout the hospital. These toolboxes contain gift cards from $5 to $25, which an employee, upon documenting the reason, can attain and present to the patient as an apology. No need to ask a supervisor or their boss. The key to handling negative feedback is to respond politely and assure them that you're trying your best to find a solution to their issue. Make your customer feel heard and cared for, and you'll find it'll pay off in the long run. In fact, did you know that 95% of people who had a bad experience are willing to give the brand another go if they know their issue has been dealt with correctly? So the question becomes, how do I get my people more engaged? I hear it all the time. I teased you before about the fact that the key to all of this is to get your people more engaged at what they do every day. Later in the webinar, I'll give you the forums in which you can do this. But remember, we said previously that only 33% of American workers are engaged at what they do in the workplace, according to the report, State of the American Workplace. Touch points will absolutely get your people more engaged every day. You see, I believe that engagement comes from the front line up, not from management down. By having your people identify their touch points, take ownership of those touch points, and commit to making small changes in those touch points, you can completely change the customer experience. The more engaged your people are internally, the better the experience externally. So before we can discuss providing customer service at each touch point, it's important to first identify what a customer touch point is. I defined touch point previously as any opportunity you have to influence the customer experience. This is a key. Take a picture of this slide if you need to. This can occur at any time in the buying process, from ads before they make a purchase to shopping in your physical or online store to a follow-up survey after the treatment in the hospital. These customer touchpoints are opportunities to offer your customers wow, surprise, and delight, turning them into a repeat customer and more likely to recommend your business to others. However, a negative experience at any given touchpoint can cause you to get a negative review, lose a customer, or worse, both. Not only does customer experience help you keep the customer, but it also encourages customers to spend more. 81% of buyers have said they're willing to pay more simply because they had a great customer experience. That's incredible. The bottom line, businesses simply can't afford not to provide their customers with great customer service at every single touch point. Accumulatively, all of those great service touch points will add up to an incredible customer experience. How do you identify your customer touch points? Now that you understand what a customer touch point is, it's time to identify them. Understanding what your customer, patient, member touch points are will enable you to provide a memorable customer experience and make better overall business decisions. On top of that, once you're able to identify what creates loyalty to your brand, you'll be able to drive more brand loyalty. To identify customer touchpoints, you need to consider all the ways a customer can encounter your business, starting with before they've even heard about your brand. Common customer touchpoints may include ads, business directories, customer reviews, your website, scheduling apps or calendars, social media, product catalogs, maybe physical or online, your physical store or office, your customer service department, employee interactions, emails, promotional or transactional, purchase follow-up, your telephone system, the checkout process. There are hundreds. When it comes to your business, your customer touchpoints may include some of these, or probably many that aren't even on the list. Remember, the definition of a touchpoint is any opportunity you have to influence the customer experience. To identify your touchpoints, you need to understand your business from your customer's point of view, their perspective, not yours. What happens when you search for your business? What's the first point of contact they have with your brand? Is it your website? If so, does your homepage clearly identify how you can help or what you offer? If they click on your online chat, is it working properly? This is a personal pet peeve of mine. Online chats just don't work. If you offer a subscription service, how easy is it to cancel your membership? All of these questions will help you dive deeper into your business and understand how your customers see and experience your brand. Now that you understand what a customer touchpoint is and have identified the touchpoints for your brand, I hope, you need to actively improve them. For example, if you tested out the chat feature on your website and find that it's faulty, research a better version. Understanding how to leverage live chat is especially important if this is one of your customer touchpoints. So, the question I get is, how do we measure customer experience? So many of our clients have no key performance indicators, KPIs, which you've probably heard of before. No KPIs by which to measure customer experience. There are 5 areas of concentration on which every organization of any size should focus when it comes to CX. These KPIs are ones on which every employee at every level can become a cheerleader. And this is key. We want everybody in the organization working on the customer experience. So what are they? They are, in no specific order: number 1, Net Promoter Score; number 2, Employee Engagement Survey Scores; number 3, Total Sales Growth; number 4, Customer Retention; and number 5, Employee Retention. So let's look at each of these individually. The first is Net Promoter Score. High-performing organizations which focus on CX have Net Promoter Scores 2 times higher than the average company. Asking the ultimate question allows companies to track promoters and detractors, producing a clear measure of an organization's performance through its customers' eyes, its Net Promoter Scores. To calculate NPS, start with the ultimate question: how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague? See, you may have not even known that was NPS, but you've done it before. And then you take their answer and you score the answers on a 0 to 10 scale. Your NPS is simply the percentage of customers who are promoters, those who scored 9 or 10, minus the percentage who are detractors, those who scored 0 to 6. The Net Promoter System was developed, I think, in 2002 by Fred Reichheld, a Bain and Company consultant. He developed it out of the need for a customer experience metric that's predictive of customer loyalty and business growth. After scrutinizing how traditional customer satisfaction survey questions correlate to consumer behavior, Reichheld concluded that evaluating customer loyalty versus customer churn was the answer. The carefully phrased NPS question, how likely are you to recommend the company or organization to a friend, has since been adopted by top brands worldwide. A customer that's willing to recommend, promote your company is also more likely to stick with you for the long haul. However, a customer that rates you poorly is more likely to detract from your business by churning or spreading negative word of mouth advertising. NPS helps you identify both types of customers so you can improve your business. Score the answers to the ultimate question on a simple 0 to 10 scale. This scale is familiar and it's easy for customers to understand. And the responses tend to cluster in 3 groups, each one characterized by different attitudes and, more importantly, different behaviors linked to economic value. Although there are many NPS question variations, the NPS methodology for improving the customer experience follows 4 basic steps. Step 1 is ask the question. NPS is comprised of a carefully crafted single question survey. Customers answer this question in 2 parts. The first part is a 0 to 10 numerical rating. This provides a standardized quantitative benchmark that can be tracked over time. The second half of the NPS survey is a free-form follow-up question. This is where the real power of NPS reveals itself. It allows the customer to provide context for their rating that they just gave you in their own words, free from any bias that targeted survey questions typically have. For example, it might simply read, tell us more about why you gave us the number you gave. That's it. Now, one warning I give clients is that you have to read this second response carefully. If a customer indicates that they gave you an 8 because I never give higher than an 8 to anyone, then they're essentially a promoter of your business, even though a score of 8 would label them as passive. Your NPS survey can be distributed through a variety of methods: email, text, or even in person. Most companies find it helpful to have a dedicated NPS tool to deliver the survey automatically after the customer has had a full experience of the brand. NPS platforms also help tally the responses and calculate your score. You can use online tools like SurveyMonkey, JotForm, or Survey Gizmo. The second step: group the responses. Customers are segmented into 3 groups according to the numerical response to the 0 to 10 rating question. But what do the different groupings actually mean? I've mentioned them before. Promoter is a score of 9 or 10. An example: I really love your product. It's exactly what I've been looking for. A promoter will go out of their way to recommend your product or service, often unprompted. They're willing to put their personal reputation on the line for it. A score of 7 or 8 is someone who's passive. It's pretty good. I had a few issues here and there, but it got the job done. A passive probably liked your product or service, but it wasn't a slam dunk. They may mention it in the right context, but they're unlikely to personally vouch for it. And then I mentioned detractors. They're a score of 6 or below. They'd say, I wasn't able to get it to work. I tried for hours. This is so frustrating. A detractor will proactively take any opportunity to dissuade people from using your product or service. They often speak louder than promoters. The third step: calculate your NPS. NPS provides a score ranging from 10 to 100. That serves as a report card, grading your overall customer experience. So, as an example, a recent client of mine found that 71% of their customers are promoters and 14% are detractors. Your NPS numerical score is the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. In this case, our client's score was 71 minus 14 gave them a score of 57. If you already have responses from a previous NPS survey, you can calculate your NPS with an interactive NPS calculator or benchmark your NPS scores against others in your industry. You can find many online resources to do this. The fourth step: keep track of your NPS scores over time. Seeing the breakdown of the categories with NPS lets you focus on which group you want to target to increase your company or product's rating. Stacked bar charts are popular because they visualize these groups that compose NPS. The group breakdown can be shown as total or percentage. However, it can be hard to determine the NPS and differentiate between groups if they're close in size. While the score itself gives you a really easy way to know where you stand with your customers at a glance, the true value of NPS comes from the customer feedback. Analyzing and acting on customer feedback insights is what you continue to do to move your business forward. Traditional surveys bias customer feedback to what the company wants to hear, not what the customer wants to say. If you're asking the wrong questions, you'll never get the right answers. NPS passes the microphone to the customer so they can validate or course correct your business decisions. They might say, I'm so glad I found you guys. I've been searching for the perfect gift for my 90-year-old grandmother, and this is perfect. This will mean so much to her. It's like you read my mind. Language is rich with between the lines messaging. Emotion and nuance is lost when customers are forced to choose from a selection of predefined answers that sterilize feedback. NPS lets the voice of the customer permeate your organization and drive change. You really have some cool hidden gems, but I have a really hard time finding them. I know they're there, but after a 12-hour workday, I just don't have the patience to go searching on your website. Heard something like that? When NPS is fully integrated into your organization, it creates a perpetual cycle of product and customer experience improvement. As trends emerge, your teams can address them quickly and immediately measure the impact they've had in very human terms. What if you hear, I was disappointed to find that your packaging was not compostable or biodegradable. What a shame. It's 2021. I can't recommend any service that doesn't respect the environment. Is there something we could do about it? Does that give you some kind of feedback? The downsides of NPS is no secret. We like to imagine the world is simpler and more predictable than it actually is. To do that, we construct narratives and frameworks that allow us to make sense of the world. There is a negative to NPS scores. When you take a short personality test, you get a result that kind of lumps you with all of the other ENFPs, right? When you're born in September, you're a Virgo. If you were good at drawing as a kid, you might have been labeled right-brained. The problem is the world is more nuanced than that, isn't it? I mean, lots of research has refuted Myers-Briggs, right versus left brain, and other lenses you use to view yourself in the world. When you attach a business metric to one simple question, you're competing with these other simplifications to try to fit a complex network of data into a single set of numbers or a single lens. NPS has been shown to correlate with customer loyalty, retention, and growth, but not always. It does give you an anchor, though, a number you can move up and down, a sense of progress. I'm saying do not throw away analytics and your other customer research tools. Don't think that this one simple question will grow your business in your spare time. We know that no single question can tell you everything. NPS can tell you what your customers think of you, but not necessarily why they feel that way about your brand. This is true of any quantitative metric, of course. And that's why NPS tools should ask the follow-up question, as I mentioned before. I am not a fan, however, of the question, what can we do to improve? From personal experience, we found that if this is the follow-up question, only 34% of customers will respond with an answer. Avoid it if you can. NPS captures just one point in time with a customer, and the customer's response will depend heavily on their most recent experience, right? Focusing solely on NPS as a measure of overall CX is just a dangerous habit that could eventually turn loyal promoters into detractors. While many consulting firms will tell you NPS is the be-all and end-all metric, know this: no single survey question can predict your company's success. It's simply used as a metric by which progress in the customer experience initiative can be measured. Either way, NPS isn't all bad. If anything, it triggers an organization-wide attitude toward improving the customer experience, and it's something that everyone in the organization can understand and be a cheerleader of. The next measurement of CX you must have is an employee engagement survey. According to SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management, employee engagement surveys measure employees' commitment, motivation, sense of purpose, and passion for their work and organization. I hope you've at least done one or surveyed your employees in some fashion. A carefully designed and conducted employee survey can reveal a great deal of information about employee perceptions that management can use to improve the organization. Organization responsiveness to employee feedback leads to higher retention rates, lower absenteeism, improved productivity, better customer experience, and most importantly, higher employee morale and engagement. The simple fact that the organization is conducting a survey can send a positive message to employees that their opinions are valued. In addition to that, managers can gain insight into issues affecting their departments or business units that allow them to manage more effectively. Conversely, if the senior management team is not fully committed and ready to really listen to and most importantly act on what employees are saying, then conducting a survey can falsely raise expectations among the employees, and it leads to an employee relations disaster. Organizations should conduct surveys of employees on a regular basis. Most companies elect to ask their employees for feedback annually. Requesting regular feedback shows employees that the company actually cares about how they perceive their work environment. The survey itself can't measure or fix every problem at once, and you'll lose time and money if you try to approach it this way. To create an engagement survey that gives you valuable data, you must be strategic about how to generate an actionable outcome. Focus on pinpointing a specific problem, the what, identifying drivers that contribute to the problem, the why, and then begin tailoring your questions, the how. So now what? Congratulations, you've completed your employee engagement survey, and now what do you do? First, use the percentage of responses as your initial matrix for measurement. If on your first survey, 78% of employees responded, but a year later only 62% respond, you got to ask yourself, what's that telling you? When responding to results, it's tempting to immediately dive into making changes. After all, you didn't run the survey just for fun, and you want employees to know that you hear them and value their input. But if you jump into making changes without deeply understanding what the result of your employee engagement surveys are telling you, you risk creating as many new problems as you fix. It's important to approach this with the same thoughtful mindset you'd use when developing your company's next quarterly financial plan. Engaged employees are the foundation of successful companies. If employees aren't engaged with their work, then they're less likely to make the impact that their managers hope for, and even more less likely to influence the customer experience. When employees are engaged, they're brand ambassadors, customer satisfaction gurus, and they even take fewer sick days. Engaged employees are the backbone of successful businesses. The third measurement of CX is total sales growth. More than half of private employers now share how their organizations are faring financially with employees, 50%. Although they're not obligated to do so, private companies can benefit from sharing financial information with their employees. Employees feel more engaged and empowered when they have access to company financial data. Companies should explain the information and offer context so it's not overwhelming to employees. A growing number of employers are no longer leaving their staff in the dark. When it comes to companies' financial performance, all the research is pointing to this. A study from Robert Half Management Resources revealed that 56% of private organizations provide at least some employees with regular updates on the company's financial performance. That's up from 32% in 2014. This so-called open book management offers several benefits. The main benefits are these. First, accountability. Second, increased sales. Studies show boosts of 1% to 2% in companies that open their books to employees. Third, enhanced understanding. Empowers the employees, right? Employees will be on the lookout for ways they can improve operations. It gives the sense of being a stakeholder. Employees who are trusted with vital financial information feel that they are part of the team, part of the company. It also increases job satisfaction and results in better performance. We've proven it over and over again. Employees who feel trusted and valued are more loyal and more engaged and feel a part of the end-to-end customer experience. One of our clients, a plastics manufacturer, recently told me when referring about numbers transparency, as I like to call it, they said, I don't have just employees anymore. I have entrepreneurs who are looking to find ways to make more money and make the organization better. Wow. Most of the employers surveyed believe employees want to learn more about how their company is faring financially. This metric that I'm calling total sales growth tracks the bottom line of a company and looks to see if the number of sales has increased over a certain time period or since a customer experience initiative began. Companies that focus on customer experience tend to make more sales. So this number should ideally increase with more emphasis placed on the customer experience. It is, however, fairly elusive as a definitive measurement because there are so many factors, as you know, that can affect a sales number. It's just a great KPI that everyone can be a cheerleader for. All right, number 4 of our 5 measurements is customer retention. Similar to customer churn rate, customer retention is extremely valuable for company growth. In fact, Bain and Company, who I mentioned before, claims that a 5% increase in customer retention can increase company revenue by 25 to 95%. Let me say that again. A 5% increase in customer retention can increase company revenue by 25 to 95%. It's huge. It's still very important to drive growth through acquiring new customers, but the cost savings of building long-standing customer relationships are significant in comparison to the effort spent on acquiring new ones. This is why customer retention is a great measurement of customer experience. Neglecting existing customers in pursuit of new ones is a common mistake. While customer acquisition is important for business growth, meeting the needs of your existing customer base can be just as critical. Businesses who implement a strong customer retention strategy will reap the benefits. Compared to new customers, repeat customers tend to spend more money. They're more likely to try your new products or services. Businesses should therefore work toward building a customer base with trust and loyalty toward their brands to see their profits increase over time. Check out these statistics. 61% of small businesses report that more than half of their revenue comes from repeat customers. On average, loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. It can cost 5 times more to acquire new customers than it does to keep current ones. A 5% increase in customer retention can increase a company's profitability by 75%. Reducing your customer defection rate by 5% can increase your profitability by 25 to 125%. 82% of companies agree that retention is cheaper to execute than acquisition. Finally, the average repeat customer spends 67% more in their 31st to 36th months of their relationship with a business than in months 0 to 6. Oh, I said finally, but there are a lot more. 89% of customers begin business with a competitor following a poor customer experience. It takes 12 positive customer experiences to make up for one negative experience. A 2% increase in retention has the same effect as decreasing costs by 10%. I know these are a lot to take in. I'd suggest you rewind and listen to them again. But as you can see and hear, the impact of customer retention can be felt from your bottom line to your marketing tactics, cost of sales, and customer experience. It's a metric behind which all of your people can measure and support. Attracting new customers requires continuously honing your products and services to stay one step ahead of your competitors. And loyal customers can help you achieve this, providing valuable feedback. Talk to your existing customers. Ask them what they like and what they dislike about your products and services. What sort of changes could help to improve their experience with you? Acting on this, what I think invaluable feedback to meet your customers' needs and improve your product and service is how you truly set yourself apart from your competitors and spot new opportunities for growth. The last measurement we recommend to clients is employee retention. It might not be the most glamorous of CX strategies, but effective management of employee turnover can make or break a company's customer experience. One of the most effective tactics for improving the customer experience is also among the least glamorous, as I said. For all of the management attention focused on shiny object CX strategies, such as digital transformation, AI, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, and so many more, it's the simple influence of employee turnover that can make or break a company's customer experience. I was reminded of this in a recent client engagement where we looked at the correlation between the company's employee turnover rate and its Net Promoter Score, NPS. As the graphic shows you here, we found a rather striking relationship between these two measures, something we observed at other firms as well. For this particular company, the NPS and turnover trends were like mirroring image of one another. When turnover fell, NPS rose. When turnover rose, NPS fell. For the statisticians out there, in this example, the two measurements had a strong negative correlation of about 0.74. So what accounts for this connection between employee turnover and customer experience? It boils down to three factors. The first is focus. In a high turnover environment like we have today, a business's focus necessarily shifts from development to survival, doesn't it? Management doesn't have the luxury to concentrate on things like customer experience because they're consumed with the Sisyphean task of filling staffing gaps as quickly as they're created. The second is fitness. Oh, I don't mean going to the gym. But by definition, a high turnover workforce is a less experienced workforce, right? I mean, newly hired employees may be good people, but they're going to lack the expertise and competence of more seasoned staff. As a result, the workforce's overall fitness to effectively serve customers is compromised. And last but not least, number three, familiarity. In many types of businesses, customers like working with familiar faces. The retail clothing store associate who knows my style, my insurance agent who knows my coverage needs, my auto mechanic who knows my car. In these relationship businesses, high turnover is jarring to the customer because they crave consistency, but are forced to deal with new employees time and time again. To put the impact of turnover in perspective, consider the retail industry, where according to the National Retail Federation, the average employee turnover rate is a little over 60%. That means if you're a store manager, every year you're replacing almost 2/3 of your staff. Think about the effect that has on how quickly and competently employees are able to serve customers. It's a huge issue, made bigger by the fact that many companies don't have very good training programs for new staff. And having come through a pandemic, you see how it's just magnified. So it comes as little surprise then that organizations known for excelling in customer experience also tend to exhibit below average employee turnover. Think Costco, Publix, Wegmans, and USAA. The minimization of employee turnover may not be the most glamorous and exciting of customer experience strategies, but it is a critical one. When business leaders neglect to manage turnover effectively and address its root causes, it inevitably sows the seeds for future customer experience failure. We've seen it over and over again worldwide. The key is to hire the right people, to be deliberate in onboarding and training them, and to equip them with the tools and knowledge needed for success. That focus on the employee experience helps improve engagement and reduce turnover. And that's critical to any company's success because if your employees keep heading for the exits, your customers will soon follow. So the question begs to be asked, where do we get started? I believe it all begins with the voice of the employee. We've developed the listening tour as a type of focus group of frontline employees, middle managers, and C-suite executives. I would suggest that you bring a non-partial third party in for a day, just to assure anonymity, to ask vital questions of these three groups. Each session should be scheduled for about 90 minutes, and there should be very specific questions asked of each group. These questions that I'll share with you will get you started with your frontline employees, but make sure you customize more questions to get the responses to questions that are of concern to you right now. The first question should sound familiar. Remember NPS? It's this. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely and 1 being absolutely not, would you recommend, fill in the name of your organization here, to your friends and family if the need arose? Number 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely and 1 being absolutely not, would you recommend, name of your organization again, as a place for your friends and family to work? Number 3, does, name of your organization, recognize employees properly? Number 4, does, name of your organization again, recognize employees often enough? Number 5, what type of recognition would you recommend moving forward? Number 6, does the organization have a values statement? If so, can you tell me what it says? Number 7, does the organization have a service standards policy? If so, can you tell me what it says? Number 8, does the organization have a service recovery policy? If so, would you describe it for me? Number 9, does the C-suite do an adequate job of welcoming new employees? Number 10, does the C-suite do an adequate job of rounding, a term stolen from healthcare, which means to visit different departments and make themselves available for questions, feedback, and concerns? Number 11, does middle management do an adequate job of rounding? Number 12, does your CEO conduct any type of all-employee forum? If so, what's your opinion and how could they be made better? 13th question, is your CEO available to you when you have a suggestion, question, or concern? 14, what can we do to make our customer experience better? 15, does your manager supervisor hold some type of weekly huddle? These are short standing meetings to address what's working and what's not working in the department. See, one of the most effective things we do with our clients next is hold a customer listening tour as a public forum for the entire company. This involves holding a town hall forum, inviting 3 to 5 customers to sit on a panel and interviewing them in front of the entire company. If the organization is too big to pull everyone off the floor or away from the phones, away from their desks, get as many people as possible to attend, video record it, and then make sure that everyone who didn't attend is required to watch the video. Make sure you debrief the session with all employees, either at the event or through a pre-event survey. The next step after listening tours is a CX initiative launch, a formal launch in the organization. Make sure to have an official company-wide CX initiative launch. Do this with as much fanfare and ensure that everyone knows that the goal is to become the employer and the vendor of choice. I've witnessed theme parties, organization-wide parades. You wouldn't believe what I've seen to hype the initiative. Make it high profile and a high priority. The next step in getting started is establish a CX council, a customer experience council. Immediately establish a customer experience council. This is the team responsible for providing ongoing leadership to improving customer experience. They will be the hub of information from both the service advisors, you'll hear about in a minute, and the organizational project teams. And they will also guide everyone to ensure the CX initiative takes place effectively. They meet about every 2 weeks in the first 6 months, and then every month after that. And the team, most importantly, is made up of 60% management and 40% frontline workers. Then what you do, assign one project coach from the CX Council to oversee a specific organizational project team. Talk about those in a minute. The next step are your CX advisors, and probably the most important thing in a CX initiative. A 1-hour CX workshop, or actually 1 hour or 1.5 hours, should be developed by the CX Council to include information on the new CX initiative, service recovery, service standards, communication skills, etc. Designated best of the best frontline personnel, cross departments, are then chosen by their managers on a ratio of about 1 per 15 to 20 employees. These are called CX advisors. And the CX advisors then teach the CX workshop in teams of 3 to 4. This is important. They don't teach it alone. They teach it to the entire organization. I believe that the message is far more powerful when presented by one's peers than if presented by a professional trainer or management. When the CX advisors have had plenty of time to rehearse the workshop, schedule all employees in groups of no more than 20 employees, also depending on available room capacity, to attend this mandatory and I'll repeat, mandatory training over the course of a few months. There's no rush here. Also, make sure that your CX advisors meet with the CEO, not any other leadership team member, monthly as a type of a synergy meeting. We've been told by CEOs over and over again that this is the highlight of their month. The CEO, finds out about what's going on in the front line and in the workshops, and the CX advisor, on the other hand, gets an ear at the top of the company. Recently, at one of my clients, one CX advisor was extolling the benefits of this monthly synergy meeting and said, I actually wave at the CEO and say hi when I pass her in the hallway now, and she waves back and she knows my name. Sounds trivial, doesn't it? But do you think that CX advisor is more engaged at work? Absolutely. The next step is to establish organizational project teams. The leadership team should identify organizational-wide projects that will contribute to the success of a company-wide CX initiative. These projects might include service recovery standards, which we talked about before, service behavior policies, sentence starters, so that all employees are telling the same story, awards and recognition, or onboarding, or any other organizational-wide, that's the key, projects which might have been discussed but never acted upon. This team is cross-functional. You want to get people working together who may have never had the opportunity to work before. It's amazing when you see someone from maintenance working beside someone from accounting or someone from HR. Make sure, and here's another key, that every leader, manager, supervisor is placed on one cross-departmental team to carry out one of the projects. That's every leader who is not part of the CX Council I mentioned before. Place people on teams who don't normally work together. As I said, make sure to establish milestones and a deadline for each team depending on the complexity of the project. The CX Council oversees each project by way of a designated project coach who also sits on the council. The goal of the project team is to develop the project to the point where it can be handed off to an appropriate person who will, hardwire it into your organization. For example, an onboarding project might be handed over to the VP of Human Resources for hardwiring, and a service recovery project to the VP of Customer Service. Next step is to start thinking about departmental CX projects. After, and I say after, the CX advisors have taught the workshop to all employees, and after the organizational team projects are underway, begin to drive the CX initiative at a departmental level. Gather departmental heads and challenge them to meet with their teams to establish short-term projects to better the customer experience from their perspective in their departments. Encourage them to go after the low-hanging fruit. Those touch points that they have already recognized as ones which they need to tweak. These departmental projects will be ongoing, so make sure not to overwhelm any manager or supervisor by trying to get these done too quickly. Finally, make sure to celebrate small successes along the way. Recognize your CX Council members, your CX advisors especially, and your entire staff at appropriate times. Keep the momentum going and have fun with all of this. Here is a general flowchart to show you how this all works. Here is a general flowchart to show you how this all works. As you can see, it does come from the CEO because he or she needs to champion this right from the beginning, or it's not going to be effective. As you can see, the initiative flows from the CEO to what we call the Service Edge Council, your CX Council. When we take clients through a 3-year CX journey, and by the way, there is study after study that says you need 3 years to change your culture, we call it the CX Edge. EDGE is an acronym for Excellence Delivered, Goals Achieved. So we call the Service Council the Service Edge Council, or the SEC. To the left of the SEC is an implementation coordinator and assistant, if you choose. This is an ultra-organized individual who is responsible for planning, organizing, and executing the cultural transformation to, you got it, employer and vendor of choice. And they're accountable to the executive team for the overall execution and success of the initiative. Back to our flow chart. Under the SEC in our model, we have super coaches or project coaches who oversee the organizational-wide team projects, and the SEAs or CX advisors. It then flows to the workshops taught by the service advisors and the organizational-wide projects, and finally down to the departmental projects. The attention for customer experience has grown exponentially over recent years and keeps doing so, with customer experience now being recognized as an essential focus to create business and customer value. Yet, at the same time, customer experience has become a thing, a term many people use for various reasons. Drives me crazy. People are at the center of all business success. It sounds obvious, but in times of digital transformation, one can easily forget it. We're more than our demographic, behavioral, and other data. And while data have become increasingly important for customer experience optimization, it's important to look beyond the dashboards as well. The customer isn't king anymore. The customer is dictator. The expectations of people have also changed. We know this. The ambiguity of digital platforms in our lives is one of many factors impacting shifts in behavior and demands. We've even started speaking about a digital customer experience. However, all in all, the essence of CX and customer experience management hasn't changed all too much, because in the end, customer experience, the experience part, is all about emotions. So let's take a look at that essence and why customer experience keeps becoming more important, and so many organizations still struggle to meet those expectations. The definition of customer experience hasn't changed a lot either. In a nutshell, it's still seen as both individual and holistic, cumulative over a longer period, perceptions and feelings customers have when interacting with a component of your brand and service or the company itself. Support, products, people, employees, and applications, marketing systems, and so much more. In a sense, everyone is a customer. Customers as buyers, employees, suppliers, and other stakeholders. Whether it's in their capacity as consumers, citizens, hotel guests, members, patients, or workers, people and the ways you serve and empower them are key to future business growth. All parts of your organization and ecosystem need to be connected and aligned with the optimization of customer experiences as the drivers of revenue and enablers of value for people you interact with. The exploding attention for customer experience is great. It theoretically shows that organizations are starting to put their customers more at the center, customer centricity. Not in the original sense of focusing on your best customers, but in the sense of optimizing your processes and business functions around the customer. And not just in an all too theoretical and strategic way, but truly in practice, in real life, in service and beyond. You know, I mentioned the end-to-end customer experience. The definition of a customer has changed, or at least we need to think of it differently when we think of the customer. In a connected business reality, everyone in the ecosystem of your business is a customer, right? I mean, from employees, as we've said, and investors to partners, buyers, their networks, including the various players in the value chain from manufacturing to end consumer and back again. In other words, all stakeholders. Customer experience is crucial for the present and future of your business. I hope that I've proven that over the last little while together. It always has been that way, but in an era of a more autonomous and empowered customer who has higher expectations, it's even more so. In that famous connected and increasingly digital age we live in, the determining factors shaping the experiences we have with businesses are multiplying exponentially. We used to only look at face-to-face contacts, interactions across several channels, customer service, products and solutions, the brand as such, and other attributes, all close to the business as being crucial elements of the customer experience, as the sum of all experiences. In reality, the end-to-end customer experience is defined by much more than that. In fact, the customer experience is shaped by numerous factors that escape the control of a business. Think about word of mouth, to name just one. At the same time, customers don't always want an experience in the wow sense we often give it. Sometimes they just want to come into your shop, get their product, paying, get out as soon as possible. They want ease over delight. The key reason why the customer experience will never be in control is because customers are individuals, and the core element in the customer experience equation is highly emotional, personal, contextual, and mostly it's diverse. Customer experience management value is in the eyes of the beholder, right? I mean, so the term customer experience management, CEM, literally managing customer experiences, might seem somewhat of a weird term at first sight, and maybe even out of touch with a changing reality. Sure, you can manage many elements that create the conditions for fantastic customer experiences: the quality of your customer service, the response speed of your contact center representatives, the content you create, the quality of the various inbound and outbound interactions, not in a marketing context, but a general context of inbound and outbound communications, the brand narrative, the touch points we talked about where different interactions occur, the overall ambiance of physical experiences, deep insight into what customers want. The list goes on and will keep growing. However, you cannot really manage the customer experience as such. And the reason is simple. Customers shape their own experiences. Individual customers are all different. As customer experience is really owned by the customer, vendors of CEM solutions, marketers, and many others have started talking about customer engagement, whereby there is interaction or action instead of customer experience. Both are not the same. This complexity, along with the lack of understanding what customer centricity really means, and the fact that in reality it often remains a promise, let alone siloed effect, has been creating the famous customer experience gap. Of course, customer experience management is about more than what I just mentioned before. I use the management part of it to make a point. Strictly speaking, customer experience management is about design for the kind of experiences you, no, wrong, your customers value and want, from the most obvious low-hanging fruit to the more sophisticated parts of the puzzle. And it's always, always, always emotional. Even if the customer experience is about emotions and individual parameters, there are many commonalities in the ways people experience things, fulfill a task, and value experience. Customer experience management, or CEM, is not about managing customer experiences as such, but a practice that includes the design of customer interactions and touch points, aiming to meet customer expectations and ideally exceed them when it makes sense, whereby the end-to-end customer experience is taken into account and the mutual value of customer interactions is optimized in a continuous loop of interaction, reaction, proaction, and optimizing satisfaction to go beyond good enough. Given the many dimensions and elements in the overall customer experience, it does require management, transformation, and process optimization involving the customer on various levels, making intensive use of data and information, and removing any obstacles and silo effects, taking into account and involving the customer, and increasingly deploying connected technologies. Mind you, it's not about or just about data and technology. It's still about good old but hard to achieve, putting yourself in the shoes of and having an outside in view, right? You've heard that before. Customers are more than data and digital feedback. They also walk around and they can speak. And remember, they have emotions. So, this customer experience gap, our inability to approach customers as individuals and our traditional lack of understanding of what customers really want, along with an underestimation of the emotions of the customer, further strengthen this customer experience gap. It's the gap between how businesses think about the customer experiences they offer and the value of the customer experience in the eyes of the beholder, the customer. The customer experience gap has always been and remains huge. You can look up hundreds of pieces of research from at least the last decennial, and it will always come back. The percentage of business respondents claiming they offer or better, they enable a good customer experience is dramatically higher than the percentage of customers saying they experience these experiences as good or great for that matter. In How to Achieve True Customer-Led Growth, Closing the Delivery Gap, an ebook published by Bain & Company, they found that 80% of companies believe they provide a superior proposition, with only 8% of customers agree. Let me say that again. 80% they think they provide a great customer experience, but only 8% of their customers agree. Does this mean you can't have a strategy to improve customer experience? Does it mean you cannot manage customer experiences to a specific degree? Not at all. There is a whole lot you will always be able to do in order to enable great customer experiences. You probably noticed the words always and enable. I tried to stress them. Here's why. The enablement of great, easy customer experience is never finished. It stretches much further than, for instance, marketers believe. Other reasons, customer expectations change. Customer expectations differ from customer to customer. There will always be bad decisions, and none of your employees will ever be perfect. Finally, with each new technology, channel, societal evolution, etc., both customer expectations and the factors defining customer experience will continue to change as well. You can and should create the conditions for top customer experience and, of course, customer service. But you can't fully control the perceived value to the customer. You can optimize everything you do and should do it as well in a prioritized and realistic way, but you will never be able to satisfy everyone. This is where listening to your customer and continuous loops of gathering feedback and data to enhance what you do comes into play. Again, adding to the always aspect. So what can you do? How can you put the customer experience in the center of what you do, and should you even care? Well, you know what I'm going to say. You should absolutely care, and it should be in the center of your focus. A more holistic and connected customer experience approach, going beyond marketing and customer service, is a necessary thing today to succeed, but that's not enough. Let's recap why customer experience matters. We all know the obvious answers, as I have repeated time and again. Customer expectations have increased. People have more channels to voice their opinions. Failing to deliver upon customer expectations makes people change vendors, especially in specific industries, maybe yours more than others. In fact, across every industry I've been working with lately, customer experience is at the top of the corporate agenda. Not all individual experiences have the same impact on everyone. People are different. That doesn't mean that a few bad experiences by definition are disastrous. There are even numerous examples where customers don't change vendors, even if they have had bad customer experiences upon bad customer experiences. This has to do with many factors, ranging from an exclusivity of a company within its niche, the difficulty of switching vendors, and the positivity of the overall customer experience. Could be just very human factors, such as the need for comfort, and thus not for change, or even the affinity with a brand. However, in general, the importance of the customer experience has grown, as has its impact on the bottom line of organizations. And the increasing expectations of customers in general is far from a fad. Everything needs to be better and faster for generation now. The customer does increasingly dictate what he wants, spoiled by customer experiences offered by best performing organizations or across industries that have focused on the customer experience much earlier than now. The good news is that no one sort of owns the customer experience in any given industry except the customer. Yet, customer experience excellence requires leadership, executive prioritization, and an enterprise wide approach with a clear place for customer experience in your culture. I hope that I shared these all in the presentation. But here are several reasons for the need to have executive leadership and bring the customer and customer experience into the boardroom. First, customer experience is key in virtually all customer facing processes and activities, from customer service and customer retention to loyalty to engagement. Second, research by several companies clearly indicates what most suspect. There is a clear link between customer experience success and CEO leadership involvement. Next, customer experience is the essence of the future growth of the organization, as more research clearly indicates. There's a clear link between business performance and C-level customer experience involvement. Next, customer experience and employee engagement go hand in hand. Employee engagement requires leadership, as studies have confirmed. The change in strategy required to focus on the customer and customer experience can't happen without C-level direction. Everyone plays a part in achieving customer experience excellence, but some do more than others. A variety of roles has been on the rise over the past few years to make customer focus a reality and customer experience enhancement more than just lip service. These responsibilities are shared, but there always needs to be leadership. We live in a world of gaps, and it should be your mission to close these gaps by building bridges in your organization, with your customers, and across the entire ecosystem of your business. There are gaps between what we believe customers want and what they actually want. We said that before. Gaps between how we perceive the quality of the customer experiences we enable and how customers perceive the value of them. Gaps between the front end of our businesses and the back of office. Gaps between divisions. Gaps between brand promises and brand experiences. Gaps between the ways we seek business value and the ways we offer and benefit from customer value. Even if our organizations become more customer-centric and we connect these processes, people, information, and things, we're far from where we should be. It proves to be hard to be more agile and adapt to an increasingly real-time economy. It proves to be hard to catch up with the realities of technology and demanding customers, including our employees. And it certainly is hard to prioritize how we can create more business value by offering more customer value. One of the many reasons contributing to all of these gaps, to this Swiss cheese full of holes, is the disconnect between several business functions. Another reason is the disconnect between processes and divisions that try to achieve comparable goals without trusting each other, let alone collaborate. Yet another reason is the fact we often sell the importance of customer experience the wrong way, and we don't get buy-in. A final one is our never-ending urge to control, fear of losing control, and just overprotection of the silos we've created. It's about the integration and relationships between people through connected processes and working across silos, having a much broader perspective involving the whole business, customers, and the ecosystem, as I keep mentioning. Because the customer experience is the task of everyone, and in the end, relationships make the difference. Technology simply enables us to do it better. Optimizing the customer experience, the holistic and integrated, must be top of mind. Customer experience optimization is a holistic task involving the whole organization, looking at the customer as an individual, not as an email address or a series of often disjointed contact moments. The most direct interactions with and experience of customers occur in the front end, and across customer-facing operations. Would you agree? I mean, think about the help desk, customer service, contact center, sales, face-to-face interactions, and even some marketing communications. Part of the customer experience optimization exercise is to connect the front office and the back office. In practice, this is often not the case. I have two quick examples. If a contact center agent doesn't dispose of the right information to service a customer because crucial data are missing to get a full customer interaction view, the disconnect between the back office where information enters and the front end where information enters too, but where at the same time direct customer contact occurs, leads to frustration and poor experiences. We've experienced this with call centers worldwide. Also, when a customer engages directly with your business by using an online tool, the underlying processes in which the tool plays a role should be aligned, fast, and supportive of the intent the customer had when using it. If this isn't the case, the initial positive experience when using the tool loses all meaning if the processes and systems it's used for are slow. While the disconnect between the front office and the back office is among the main cause of customer dissatisfaction, there are many, often relatively easy ways to improve the customer experience. Yet, it takes a deep understanding of what customers truly want instead of assumptions, and that also means customer experience metrics and measurement. So, what have I been promoting through this whole webinar is a customer experience transformation. Improving the customer experience ranks high on the agenda of many organizations and executives who are successful in today's marketplace. Because it's important, because competition is getting better at offering great customer experience, and because okay isn't good enough anymore for numerous reasons, the customer being the main one. As customer needs evolve and as their understanding of their competitive landscape expands, you need to rethink many of the systems and processes that have been set over the years, driven primarily by the needs of the company rather than by the desires of your customer. With increased competition from an array of sources in virtually every industry and significantly increased customer expectations for service, it's time for you to take a step back and reorganize around the needs of your customer. As I wrap up this webinar, I would love for you to take a picture of these 11 questions from my new book that were designed for you to ask your team or organization and you to start to gather feedback from frontline, middle management, and the leadership team. The questions are these. 1, why should you start thinking about shifting from customer service to customer experience? 2, what's the difference between service and experience? 3, why customer experience? 4, how do we change our perspective on what we do now? 5, how do I get my people more engaged? 6, how can we understand our customer better? 7, what can our customers tell us? 8, how do we measure customer experience? 9, how do we respond to negative feedback? 10, where do we get started? And 11, what's next in CX? So you may be wondering, now that I know what goes into a CX initiative, what do I do next? Well, the next logical step, in my opinion, is to have one of our trainers come into your company and present our program, Ignite the Customer Experience. This is not the 3-year initiative I've been talking about. This is a 2-day on-site training for your C-suite executives and mid-level managers that takes a deep dive into executing on a CX strategy. This 2-day initiative will give your leadership team all the tools, techniques, and methods to implement a CX initiative in your organization quickly. Upon completion of the training, your team will be able to gain buy-in from every single employee to improve the customer experience, even with employees who aren't in customer-facing positions. We'll create a 3-year blueprint for a 5-star customer experience at every level of your company, customized for your organization. In this content-rich training, your team will learn 20 plus implementation tools that they can immediately put to work. So how fast can you start a CX initiative after the training? You'll be ready to implement what you learn easily within 2 weeks. The intensive has been designed so that you can execute quickly on a CX program. It could be the one thing you do to catapult your business past your competition. And it's not a canned response or presentation either. Every Ignite the Customer Experience training is customized based on your specific strengths, industry, and your needs. You'll learn everything you need to know to put a winning CX program in place in your business. This initiative can help you become the vendor of choice in your industry, the employer of choice in your area, improve customer loyalty, and ultimately improve your bottom line. Time after time, we've seen it pay for itself within the first few months. So contact us at the email on your screen, or you can visit our website at www.thecxedge.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope to hear from you soon.